What's going on, everyone? Welcome from the frozen tundra, also known as Kansas City. It's freaking cold here. Oh my goodness. Wind chills are going down to -20 tonight. I know if you live someplace like Green Bay or in the northeast, like New England area, you're like, big deal. But for me, it is. By the way, if you don't know me, my name is KB, and if you're like me, you love movies. Welcome back if you've been here before. Tonight on the conversation, I have a really good guy, and it's kind of cool because I was on his channel, and I definitely wanted to have him on my channel, kind of go back to back. Besides being a horror fan, he is a movie lover. His channel talks about all matters of entertainment. He's also a big music guy, so we could talk that. We could even talk sports if that doesn't turn some of you away for a few moments. But I love what he puts out there. His live streams are great reviews, everything. So I just had to have Davey Deathray on the conversation, man.
What's happening, KB? Thank you so much for having me, man.
Bro, it was bound to happen. It was
Hell
bound
yeah.
to happen.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Same here. Same here. I am cold. I wish I was in Phoenix right now because I am cold.
And you know, it does get pretty cold. At least, you know, the desert, it's when it's 40 at night in the desert, it does feel a little bit colder than you would think of 40 anywhere else because you don't have any cloud coverage and none of that. So there's nothing like no blanket over you warming up. Like, you know, sometimes like 40 degrees in the winter somewhere, if it's like a cloudy day, you're like, this isn't so bad. But yeah, you know, the desert is like during the day, it's like in the 60s. It feels great. If you get in a car, you're going to start sweating through the windows and, you know, so yeah, it's nice. I love the winters in Phoenix because you can go sit by a little fire and you can actually enjoy the outside. You can see all the stars. That's awesome. I'm a big, like growing up where I grew up in Southeast Alaska, like it's just like you see the cream of the Milky Way and every star, it's like God sneezed into space. Because you see, like sometimes it's tough to find out. You're like, where's Orion? Because there's all these other stars that you just don't see when you're near light pollution. So, you know, and I'm about 40 minutes away from the city. So there's some light pollution like on the horizon. But when you look straight up, it's amazing. So
just appreciate it, man. Appreciate the beauty. It's awesome. Like I was saying, I definitely wanted to have you on the channel because of the content you put out and being a movie lover, a music lover.
Yeah.
And just, we're going to talk about late night. We're going to talk about just movies in general. But I always like to start off one or two ways. We like to see who's here and who's joining us. So
yeah,
let's
see some familiar faces. Love it.
Hey, that's awesome. Hopefully some came over with you and some are just coming back and seeing us.
Yeah.
So on the top, we have Big Rod saying hello to everyone. Hello. We got Stacy in the house saying hello and thanks.
What's happening?
We got Princey checking in. What is up? He said he prayed for this to happen and it finally happened.
Nice.
You're a good guy, man.
Nice.
Drop kick that like button, chat, show some love. I love that. Love the interaction that is starting up already. We got my man Jeff here. Glad to see
Jeff
on here. Definitely. Stacy is big on questions, so we're just going to star a whole bunch of questions, and you know, time permitting, we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
We got Jeff representing the hashtag for 2025. Anything you do, anything you post, if you're serious about this and it's not just about collecting or just about going to the movies, hashtag I love movies. That's it. It's simple. It's beautiful. And hopefully it's real.
Yeah.
We got Mama Blu-ray on the check-in saying hi. Hello, Bonnie. We got Ryan saying sup. Love the avatar there.
Ryan?
Looking good.
Yeah.
We got Michael saying hi. Let's see. What's up, y'all? It's Princey, and I love movies too. Nice. I like that. Everyone saying hi to each other. We got Holland Oates in the house saying good evening. Good evening to
What's
you.
happening, Holland? Love that
Always
icon.
good
I'm
to
a
see
big
you.
It's Always Sunny fan. Love that
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
Well,
I
up through
heard they
13,
did some kind of combo with Abbott Elementary, but
they did.
I didn't
And I
check it
tell you
out.
what, the first 13 seasons of that show were pretty good. And then I think the actors started realizing that they were famous and that they didn't like that the characters were bad people. And like to me, I thought
Mm,
the allure of that show, like it's like Seinfeld, but to the nth
yeah.
degree. Like they're the worst people.
Well,
And I thought it was
Seinfeld
kind
was
of,
reached the same point, and then they just
yeah.
said, "Well, we'll cut you $1 million an episode." And it was like, "We're okay being bad people."
Yeah, and then so with It's Always Sunny, it just sort of like to me it kind of fell off because it got sort of safe, you know.
Mm. I've never checked it out personally. I would love to get into it, but like you said, how many seasons?
I would say up through like 12 or 13, they're pretty good, but most of the seasons are like 12 episode seasons, and it's
Oh,
just a
okay.
half hour long comedy.
Yeah.
You'll know if you watch the very first episode, you'll know if it's your kind of show because they definitely like push things really hard, but it's all
Hmm.
about sort of shining a light on like kind of the way that like Family Guy would do it, where it's like this is wrong. We're making fun of the wrong character, you know, or
Right.
like Arrested Development. Like people would complain about Arrested
Love that
Development.
show.
They're like, Job is such a homophobic character. And I'm like, no, the point is that he's dumb. He's
Hmm.
dumb. And he's
Hmm.
saying these dumb things. And that's the
Yep.
joke. Like, it's
Yep.
not to hurt your feelings.
It's either you get it or you don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got Brother Dell in the house saying, "What's up?"
What up, Dell?
We see Holland. We see Adrian. Hello there. Always good to see both of you in here. Mama Blu-ray, you must have seen me. I am under an electric blanket
Oh,
myself
wow.
because
And here
I
I'm
have
wearing a
no
t-shirt.
no ventilation down here. So if it's cold, it's just cold. There's no like
Okay.
heat pumping or anything. So
Mhm.
it's a good temperature for the movie. So that's all I care about.
Nice.
40 is 60 more than -20. Very true. Who else? Who else? Who else? Let's see. All the chat back and forth. Keep it up. All right. I'm going to get into some of the questions I have for you. Let's see if we skipped
Oh, yeah.
anyone. Hello, Paula. Thanks for
Hey,
joining
Paula.
us.
She just subbed to you. Yeah, guys, if you're coming over from my channel, especially, and you're not subbed to KB's, hit that subscribe. He's getting really close to 1,000 subs.
I
So
appreciate
let's do
it.
everything we can to get him there.
I'm trying to keep warm. What's up, T? Tiana loves movies in the house.
Hey, Tiana.
Who else? Who else? Don't want to skip anybody. Dell said, so a few episodes of Always Sunny. It was fine. Had no idea it was so many seasons. Me either.
So many. They're
Me
still
either.
going.
It's
Crazy.
funny because I really, I say it like this. My wife watches the TV and she's on the books. So she's like TV talk and book talk. I'm all about the films. And the reason
Yeah.
why is because I don't have enough time to get through these. So why am I
Yeah.
going to say, let me put this on the shelf and then just go watch 4 or 5 seasons of whatever? Like,
Yeah.
I would love to, but mm-mm.
I'm one of those, like, I like, you
Hey,
know, I can
Herbert.
watch specific sitcoms, but I'm definitely not into like the 40-minute shows. I don't like the
Yeah.
40-minute dramas. They just waste my time. Just make movies. Movies are the best form of storytelling that we've ever created.
Mhm.
And
There's so
that's a
many
fact.
TV shows that are like
Yeah.
cinematic like movies now. So
Yeah, but they just turn into soap operas. Like Yellowstone's just a soap opera where everyone's a killer. It's just stupid. You know, it's just like, this is dumb.
What's up, Ryan? Catching the replay in the morning. Well, good morning to you, sir.
Thank you.
Always good to see you. We always like to start off with a non-movie question.
Okay.
So you're not wearing your hat. I'm not wearing my hat, but I know you're a fellow baseball fan. Are you
Yeah.
also into football, NFL as well?
Yeah, I've got my Commanders hat on. I still call them the Redskins, but I like the design here.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of the old school like starter jacket design. And
That was a
I
nice outfit
am,
this weekend.
oh my gosh, we're on a magic carpet ride. Jaden Daniels is the coolest customer in the business. He looks like the next coming of Patrick Mahomes. He is just so chill. He glides out of the pocket. He avoids big hits. He's incredible on fourth down. He, you know, has a star receiver and some guys that are pretty good, but they look great all
Yeah.
together. And that's the makings of what could be a surprise team to get into the Super Bowl. They've already
Yeah.
beaten the Eagles once. And here's the thing about the game against the Lions. I'm a total football nerd. So sorry, guys,
Uh-oh.
if I bore the hell out of you.
We don't want to
So
lose them. If we start seeing the numbers drop, we'll talk movies.
Jaden's been great all year, and
Hmm.
the playmakers have been great all year. But last weekend against the Detroit Lions, the offensive line and the defense put in their best performances of the year. And you want to be playing your best football in January, and you want to hit that stride at the perfect time. One more game to get to the Super Bowl. It's possible. It's going to be
It's
wild.
crazy. And just from a technology aspect, and then we'll move on. He made everyone study using VR. So
Yeah,
now
yeah,
they're
he does
calling
that.
him like the next generation of quarterback because that's how he improved. And he
Yeah.
watches everything on like 1.75 speed. So for those of you who follow accounts on YouTube and, you know, it might be a slow speak or whatever, and you speed it up, there are athletes doing that now to study
Yeah.
their opponents. It's
Yeah.
insane.
To slow
It's
down the
insane.
process when you're there. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, with that out of the way, I was thinking, let's let's look back and look forward in terms of your channel and also your favorite genre. So first, horror. 2024 was a good year, I would say.
Mm.
Any fond memories? And then like what are you looking forward to this year?
Yeah, I thought 2024 was a really great year for horror because even if every movie wasn't great, I felt like there was something for everyone. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it was one of those like we got movies like Late Night with the Devil, Abigail, In a Violent Nature, Alien Romulus, Terrifier 3, The Substance. Like there are, and I know I'm probably missing some, but it was like a little bit of a different flavor for everyone out there. So you could, that's what like I love that because even if one movie isn't your cup of tea, like I'm Late Night with the Devil was one of my favorites.
Mm,
I probably my favorite horror of 2024. And it's not that
yeah.
the movie scared me. I loved the immersion. I love David Dasmalchian's performance as Jack Delroy. I feel like being a late night talk show host, like a true late night talk show host, is so difficult. And you could tell that he studied it. And
Yeah.
for a guy that's still kind of up and coming as far as like leading roles go, I felt like he just totally knocked it out of the park. He had me like I was completely charmed by him. I loved all the little, Easter eggs they have in the background. Like you see little flashes of like the ghost of his wife and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Going from the 3:4 to the widescreen black and white was
I
great.
love when
But then,
people do that.
yeah, and then you've got movies like Abigail, which I was kind of lukewarm on, but everyone loved, and it's like, well, that's awesome. And then there's a
Yeah.
movie like In a Violent Nature that has a really cool concept. I thought it was kind of boring, but it's like, again, other people really like it. So for me, it's not so much about like, did I like it? It's like, was it liked by somebody? It's not all about like what I think of a movie. I hope that
Yeah.
everyone has success. I believe that a rising tide raises all ships. So even if something's not my thing, it's like, hey, if you're successful, like more power to you. And
And I,
2025, man, Hard Eyes, looking forward to Hard Eyes.
yeah, me too.
Really, really looking forward to Thanksgiving too. I absolutely loved 2023's Thanksgiving. And I think the Thanksgiving 2 could be even better because we already know who the killer is. And this could just be, a different take on the slasher. Whereas the first one was a revenge whodunit. This one could just be the follow up where John Carver is, still pursuing the survivors of the first film.
Yeah. I have to say, with that genre, it's very easy to, in my opinion, call things that are not necessarily horror movies and just lump them in. Like to me,
Mm.
Longlegs had supernatural elements, but it wasn't a
Mm.
horror movie. And I think a lot of people went in with that thing
Yeah.
expecting it to be, and then it was like, oh, that sucked, or whatever the case may be. But I think it was more of a thriller, like I said,
Yeah.
but it's just given a bigger audience to the genre for people because now they're
Yeah.
seeing it with other kind of like melting together with other genres. So you could
Yeah.
get a crime drama thriller with a horror movie or horror movie aspects. And I think it just opens up people to be more accepting of the genre altogether.
Yeah, somebody that's more middle of the road moviegoer, they're going to consider something like Longlegs a horror, whereas like a horror fan is like, well, how are Terrifier 3 and Longlegs both horror movies? You know, but yeah, but like the main line, like I think that's a great thing about Longlegs. Yeah, there are definitely some horrific elements. I loved Longlegs. I think it's one of the
Mhm.
most beautifully shot films I've ever seen in my life. I absolutely adore that one.
Yeah.
And you know, Micah Monroe that was the first movie I've ever seen her in. I still haven't seen It Follows. And she just put in
No,
this. No, I know I'm terrible.
I'm not going to hype it up because I hate when people do that, and then you see it,
Yeah,
and you're going to have this like grand expectation, and then
yeah.
it's like, hmm,
I've heard a
just
lot of
see it
people
for yourself.
compare it, you know, people compare it to like the original Halloween with like the long tracking shots and the music. That's what I've heard. But
Yeah.
Micah Monroe, she was like she's mesmerizing in that movie. And then Nicolas Cage, for a guy that's so unique as an actor, they did a really good job of like, you can't really, like, it's not super obvious that it's him. You know, the
Right.
makeup and his performance were so good.
It's so true. Um, I just had, yeah. Where's that quote?
Michael Bledstein says not much happened during Long Legs. Michael, you got to watch the movie again. I think a lot happens there. They're investigating a series of murders that have been happening for like 2 decades. So
There you
there's
go.
a lot there, you know.
So Dell said that he just checked out the trailer for Hard Eyes. It does look
Yeah.
like fun, and I
Yeah.
think this is a time of year. I mean, I don't expect the same thing in like September, October. But this is the time of year where you just go to the movies and you just have fun with this season of horror movies. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting anything big out of Wolfman. Like
Hmm.
I said in my review, it was mid. That's
Yeah.
the best way I could put it. It was mid. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. It was mid.
It had
Um,
some, you know, the first 2/3 had some really cool tension, but
mhm,
man, I really felt like the end was like, are you guys sure about that? Like the last
yeah,
act just seemed like a whimper. It seemed
yeah.
like, and I'm not going to say anything spoilery, but it seemed like there was something that they really could have leaned, like something that happens that seems relatively brief in the movie. They could have really leaned into it for a big part of the third act, and I wish they did that.
Hmm.
We can talk about it offline, KB. But yeah, Wolfman had the potential to be a lot better, but you know,
Yeah,
it was okay.
but like I said, first couple of months, I don't expect anything great, and I
Yeah,
think, you know, to go back to your question, terrifying long legs are scary in
yeah,
both ways, but both horrific. Yeah, and
sure,
you can say
yeah.
that about a lot of movies. They just leaned in on the horrific. So
Hmm.
now, what made you start the channel? Looking back,
So I've been watching YouTube since like '06, '07, and you know, angry video game nerd, like all that kind of stuff. That was
yeah,
like the first guy that I fell in love with as a YouTube content creator. And that was back in the early days for him. Maybe he was on season 2 at that point. He probably had caught up, or, you know, caught on. And then I had to catch up from like all the, you know, Castlevania 2 and Karate Kid and all that kind of fun stuff. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. But then, you know, about 2015, 2016, I found Wolfman's Got Nards and I found Drum Dums. And that really started inspiring me and getting me pumped because I've been a big horror fan ever since I was a little kid, like, you know,
hmm
6, 7 years old. Like I saw Jaws when I was like 5 and it changed my life. So I, you know, I realized even at that time, I was like, I should just start one of these. Cause whenever I hang out with my friends, I'm like, this is what I am. I'm like motor mouth stream of consciousness talking about something I love. And my friends are
yeah,
looking at me like, dude, will you shut up? And I was always the one that when my friends hung out, I was like, let's go to the video store and rent Halloween Curse of Michael Myers and let's like check out, like none of us had seen the Evil Dead in high school. I was like, let's rent the Evil Dead. I heard somebody
yeah,
online say something about it. So, you know, I put it off and I put it off and I put it off. And I always say this on my channel, like if you're out there in the chat, you're watching this video and you think you have something to say that's unique and you're not just out there, you know, make sure you're passionate. You're not just like repeating something you've heard before, but you think that you have a unique, not literal voice, but a unique voice and
hmm
perspective, like go ahead and start a channel. The toughest thing to do is putting out that first video. I
it's
wish I
true.
did it 13 years ago and this probably would have be the way I make a living. And so I decided, you know what? I'm done being like the fear of failure can't keep me away forever. So I'm
Yeah,
just going to
and
dive
the
in.
fear of not being perfect either. I think that
Yeah.
held a lot of
Yeah.
us back. We want it to be perfect, and
Yep.
you
And
can't.
That's why I go live a lot, because when I do pre-recorded videos, I put a lot of pressure on myself for the performance.
Same,
And
same.
I just feel so much more natural going live. And if I make a mistake, you just laugh at it. And for me, it's about like, I want to connect with the audience. I want to give them 100% of who I am, the genuine article. If you come to my channel, you're going to get this Davey Deathray every single time. And I'm not going to be a jerk, but I'm also not going to hold back. And I
Mhm.
welcome like all differences of opinion and all that stuff, as long as you're respectful about the way you communicate that. I think
Yeah.
that's a great way where we can we can gain perspective, we can learn from each other, and we might even find that the things that we learn from each other about art and movies and music, like those things can apply to the things that we can learn from each other in a sociological or political way, and that we can actually find some common ground and talk about some uncomfortable things and find a way to be better than what the media thinks we can be.
Yeah.
Because they
Yeah.
don't give us much credit.
No, not at all. I like the way you put that for sure. Just since we mentioned Late Night with the Devil and your channel as well, I know
Yeah.
you have other live streams, but
Mhm.
when did you start Late Night with the Davy?
I started Late Night with the Davy. I think it was the May. I think it was the beginning of May.
Okay.
Because yeah, the movie, I watched the movie in the theater like in March, opening night, or opening night here. I know it debuted, elsewhere before. And
Yeah.
then I was like, I loved the font. Like I said earlier, I love the whole aesthetic of it. And
Hmm.
I was just trying to think of like, one of the things that I think that's important to do, like what you've done with the conversation, is like you find something that's like your own niche. Like you
Yes.
find like you can't just go out there and be like, well, I'm just going to be like Dave McRae, or I'm just going to like review every movie that I see Cody Leach reviewing, because it's like, yes, you can do those things, but it's fun to find like what's something that's like, hey, this is uniquely my own, and I'm going to brand this thing. So I was like,
Hmm.
man, Late Night with the Davy, and I'm like, that's kind of cool. I could wear like a suit jacket.
Love
I
that.
could bring on guests. I noticed that there was like no like real like late night streams on a Wednesday night, so I was like, boom, middle of the week. Not much competition, although I really feel like I'm only competing with myself, like whenever I
Always.
do a video. And then also I was like, I'm not butting into anyone's space. I'm not trying to do
Mhm.
like I'm the brand new guy with a Friday late night show. I'm like that. I'll just get buried. So I was like, I'll do something middle of the week. There's
Mhm.
going to be some people that show up there. And sure enough, like as the community grew and then more and more people start finding the channel, because there's got to be some night owls like me that are looking for something to watch,
Yeah,
late at night. And I thought
it's
it was a
true.
great way to get to know content creators, actors, writers, directors, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, this is a great way to meet people, expand the channel's base,
Hmm.
and carve something out that's uniquely my own.
Yeah, it's great. It works great that way for sure. We got Eli on the check-in saying what's
Eli,
up. Good to see
dude,
you.
Eli's the best. Love you, Eli.
Big Rod says, I love me some movie punks with Davey and Foz.
We got to
Trying to
get
get
back to
Fozzy
that.
on here, man.
Yeah, Foz is great, and we have to get back to Movie Punks, because that's a really fun one. It hasn't been the most like well attended live show on
Hmm.
the channel, but I love it so much, and I believe in it, and I believe in like the long game. Like at some point it's gonna pop.
And it's core. It's
Yeah,
you. It's you guys being yourselves. So
yeah,
there's no fronting in it. So I love
nope,
that. I love that aspect of it. Um, Davey's a goat. I like
you're
that.
too kind.
We got Steve Moody in the house. What is up, my man?
What's happening, Steve?
Everyone's saying hi to each other, blah, 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 blah,
I
blah.
love it.
We got a
Love it.
question for me. What are my
Yeah.
favorite genres? I grew up on 80s action and sci fi. And I would say it wasn't until the middle of the 80s that I got into slashers and kind
Mhm.
of adopted horror, just going back. And I fell out of love with it around the 2000s. And I would say I've only recently got back into it. So there's a lot of 2000 horror movies that I'm still catching up on. So,
Yeah.
but I am all over the place. I went to film school, so I appreciate
Wow.
pretty much all genres of movies. I could go from a documentary to a black exploitation movie to Eddie Murphy comedy to
Mm.
black narcissist. I'm all over the place, and I have.
Oh yeah.
I was saying this to my wife the other day. I was watching James from 20th and 21st movies, and he was talking about No Country for Old Men, which I know is one of his top 25 movies. And I just stopped and I said, I can't do that. I can't come up with a top 25. I can't even come up with a top
So
100.
tough. So
And
tough.
she said to me, why don't you do like a top 3 or a top 5 for every decade? I was like, do you know I have favorite movies from the 30s
Yeah.
and forward? She's like, you could do it. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, but I'll do like 3 from the 80s, and then I'm like, how could I leave this out? And how could I
Yeah.
leave that out? It's very hard. And
It's
just foreshadowing, I know that like one of my top 70s movies is probably going to be in one of your favorite movies, but we won't jump
all
ahead.
right.
We won't jump ahead. Thank you
It's
for that
almost like
question.
you have to do like top 5 for each year, you
Yeah,
know, or
yeah,
top 10 for each genre or subgenre, you know.
yeah.
It's crazy. Very
Bowfinger,
difficult.
very, very underrated.
Yeah.
Underrated and underseen, because a lot of times when people say a movie is underrated, they just mean it's underseen or underspoken about. But I
Mhm.
would say underrated and underseen. Very, very fun. No, Michael, I just said I cannot come up with a top 10.
Oh,
No.
it's so tough. It's so tough.
I'm seeing all your questions and I'm just piling them together. So let's see. Liana saying hello. Nice to
What's
see you.
happening?
Um, I'm just looking at my questions here. To you, just thinking back to late night with the Davey and all that, and also as well as the other live streams, what would you say is the best and the hardest thing about live streaming in that format?
The best thing is it's sort of a combo of interacting. It's just the interaction. So I'll say the interaction with the guest and then being able to, usually on late night for the most part, depending on what the topic of discussion is and how
Mm-hmm.
well I know the person, usually I'm pretty, sparse with the chat during that segment where I'm talking to to the guest. And
Right.
then after the guest is gone, I'm able to like really chill out with the audience for like another hour usually. So to me, it's like feeling like I'm hanging out with a bunch of friends and,
Mm-hmm.
being able to connect with, content creators such as yourself. And you never know if you're really like going to vibe with somebody until you're on camera. I've had a couple of experience that are like, oh, like, bigger channels. I was sort of nervous. And at the beginning, I sort of felt like the person was kind of like waiting for me to prove it. I had one early on and I did reach a moment. I'm not going to name any names because I don't want anyone to seem like I'm talking bad, because I had a great
Right.
time and I love the guy's channel, but it was almost like once I cracked through, his body language changed and his whole demeanor changed, and he was like, all right, I sort of was giving him the cold shoulder, and now we're like really into it. So it's just really great to feel like everyone wants to feel like they belong to something, and
Right.
bringing on content creators has certainly helped me feel like I belong, and man, the audience makes me feel I could be having the worst day of my life and these guys make me feel 10 feet tall. So it's definitely just the interaction. I love people, and
Yeah. Same.
I love I just love hanging out. Brings a
What I
tear to
like
my eye.
about your format is, like you were saying, like when I was on, it was great to be kind of like backstage, quote unquote, the green room. Then you bring me out. We just blast through stuff, just talking. And I
Yeah.
felt like that was the focus. And then when I was gone, I was like, well, I could leave. I could go eat a bowl of cereal or something. But I literally stayed and I was like
Yes.
part of the audience. So it was like I was the guest, then I was the audience member. And it was the same experience whether I was on camera or off. And I love that you have that warmth about you,
Mhm.
where if someone's in the chat or someone's on camera, it's the exact same experience. And for any of your followers who see this, it feels the same way. The same way when you're in a chat and he's responding to something you said is the same way it is on the camera. What you see is what you get, and I love that
I,
about you.
yeah, I try. Like, I feel like the thing about YouTube, especially, and just with like what I've learned about interacting with people, even in real life, is like people can tell when you're being phony.
Oh yeah,
And so for me, that was like the most important thing. Like there are times where maybe I am going through a rough patch, and I like to like show that vulnerability to my audience too. I want everyone to
Mhm.
feel like that's not a weakness. That's like an attractive quality when people can
It
be
is.
humble and show vulnerability and truly be themselves. And these guys make me feel like, you know, I feel like I have all the support in the world when I do that. And yeah, it's you know, YouTube it's got its challenges. You asked what the toughest thing is, and I guess
Yeah.
sometimes the toughest thing is when I see that there's still like 22 people hanging out, but I've been going for 3 hours and I feel like I can't say bye to everyone, because why would I want to leave 22 people that are still asking me questions or want to hear what
Right.
I think about whatever. So I feel like, you know, the channel's still relatively small,
Mhm.
but it just feels like such a big, awesome part of my life. I'm
It's
so
been
I'm
a
so
year
thankful.
plus? Has it a little
Yeah, it's
over
been
a year?
about a year and a half right now. I really didn't hit the ground. Like, I put out my first video, technically it was like the 11th or 12th of July in 2023, but I
Mhm.
really didn't start like regularly doing movie or like any sort of videos until like, you know, August or September.
Yeah.
And then last spring is when I was like, once I got hit like 400 subs, excuse me, I was like, I'm going to start doing lives. And that's when
Yeah.
it like kind of ramped up. And that's when I really caught the bug, you know.
Yeah.
But shout out to my guy Cecil Laird from the Horror Show channel. He wrote and directed Dylan's New Nightmare, which is a fantastic Wes Craven's New Nightmare legacy sequel fan film. And
Mhm.
Cecil, like I had, you know, my very first video was a non-spoiler review of that movie on
I
my
remember.
iPhone. And Cecil, like, you know, after that, I reached out to him. I was like, hey, I'd love to interview you at this convention that's in a month. And after I did the interview with Cecil, like he reached out to me and was like, do you want to go to a press screening with me and do a review? Like he brought me on the horror channel, which has like 50,000 subs. And he saw something in me and was like, I want to take this guy under my wing because he saw that genuine article. So it's like, without the support of the content creators who are amazing in the YouTube community, I've never had anyone be weird or competitive or anything like that. I've had people not answer my messages, but whatever. That's you know.
Yeah.
But it is like, it's been so encouraging, and you guys as well. Like Jeff says, I feel like I have a place to be within your community, Davey, and you absolutely do. It's not even my community; it's our community.
Hour.
Like that's the awesome thing about it. Like I'm
So
not
true.
trying to take credit. Like I know I call everyone the Death Squad in my chats, but I think of it as like horror YouTube. Like that's the community that we're a part of. You
Yeah.
know.
And it's funny because you brought up Dylan's New Nightmare, and I'm staring at the question because I actually had one written down for you. So
All
look,
right.
we're here. Have
Nice.
you heard anything since you just confirmed what I thought? Have you heard anything about part 2 coming?
Yeah.
Please, I'm gonna give you full screen. Please.
I okay. So I don't want to give anything away too much, but I do know that Cecil is working on a couple different versions. There's a version of like, hey, if for whatever reason, if for some magical reason, like I somehow got the blessing of the Craven estate and was able to bring in some legacy performers, this is the version of the fall, like part 2 that I would want to have. And then he has a version that's like, if we can't do that and we have to kind of do, you know, a True Blue follow-up sort of similar to what we did in you know, the first part, he's got that script that he's working on as well. He
Yeah.
shared with me little paragraphs and little scenes and fun stuff like that. I'm not going to give any of that stuff away. I
Right.
don't know. I would imagine he's got to be relatively close to finishing both of those if he hasn't already. But guys, every time I hang out with Cecil, it's amazing. The dude is an idea machine. Like he is always like, oh, I've got this comic book character that I want to do, and then I want to do like this cartoon, and then I've got an idea for this other. Like it is like, I thought that my brain was active, but the guy is just really impressive, and he's ridiculously smart. Like
Yeah.
like I couldn't write the way that like I want to do like a George Romero style zombie kind of thing, and I sort of want to do it as a comic and then be able to turn it into a film. It would have
Mhm.
elements of Jaws, the whole like control of the government and not wanting to admit that a problem is there, and I want slow moving zombies, and I want those, you know, I want those sneaky, subtle socio-political messages the way that George was early on in his career, because I think that you can
Yeah.
still be entertaining first and foremost. And if people want to dig a little deeper and see what you're saying about humanity, I really like when that's there. But I hate the modern way of like smacking you in the face with some like up your own ass message that Hollywood wants to like
Yeah.
teach us, as if we like don't already know these things. Anyways,
That was the subtlety of Night of the Living Dead, is that there was a message there, but it didn't knock you over the head.
yeah. And I think the best thing that I ever heard about Night of the Living Dead is, you know, when Romero talked about the casting of Ben, he was like, I didn't cast Ben as a black man so I could make a point. I cast Ben as a black man because that was the actor that did the best job in the audition. And I think like that's what we needed. Like, people should be hired for merit. Now, certainly sometimes you do write characters to have certain characteristics, and that totally makes sense. But and then the great thing about that is he just put that out there, and just like any other piece of art, like once the artist puts it out there, it's not their art anymore. It's everyone's art to look at and draw their own interpretation and feeling from. And so because we know the history of our country and the history of the world, and so we apply some of those things to that movie that were not explicitly written into the script. They just come across that way because of the color of the skin of the performers. And so, you know, and gosh, is it, what's his name? His name is Dwayne Jones that played Ben.
Yes.
I was like, I can't forget that. His performance is one of the best. I think he and Carl Hardman that plays the asshole, Harry, whatever his last name, I think they put in like the best performances.
Yeah.
You can tell they're really feeding off each other. And I absolutely adore Night of the Living Dead. It blew my mind when I saw it for the first time. I had no idea a black and white zombie movie from 1968 could have a profound effect on a teenager in the 90s, but it did.
That's the beauty of it. It really is. So Steve is digging the hat, rooting for the Bills first.
Yeah.
And then for Washington second.
Hey, they could meet in the Super Bowl, and it would be a rematch of the Super Bowl from the 91 season, 92 Super Bowl.
And remember how that went down.
Where Thurman Thomas didn't have his helmet for the first like 5 minutes of the game. Bad omen.
Night of the Flesh.
Yeah, that was the original title. Yeah.
Paula agrees. Best way to say it. For
you
sure,
guys are too sweet.
Yes, I agree. Jeff would be a great guest on Movie Swap Dell, so definitely hit him up.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on Halloween Ends?
I'm a massive fan.
Really?
Yeah, to me, it's like, it's easily top 5 of the franchise. It's probably floating around like 3, I would say.
And what do you say to the people that say it wasn't what we wanted, which was, you know, Laurie versus Michael, final showdown, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So there's a couple different things that I have to say about Halloween Ends. You know, they were pretty scant on the publicity and everything, but there was an interview where David Gordon Green was pretty open about like, hey, there's going to be this character named Corey Cunningham, and he's going to be like a really big part of this story. And so I was sort of like ready for it to kind of tilt in a different direction. And, you know, I think some people, they were like, why is it doesn't work as the end of a trilogy? And I'm like, well, hold up a second. It's not the end of the trilogy. You just think it's that because it's called Halloween Ends, because Halloween 2018 is the sequel to Halloween 1978. So the trilogy is Halloween 78, Halloween 18, and Halloween Kills. That's the trilogy. And then Halloween Ends, maybe it's ironic that that's the name of the movie, but it's actually a brand new beginning. It is the anthology follow-up to the real trilogy. And I think a lot of people miss that because of the title. And, you know, regardless of, even if you don't like the story, the movie's beautifully shot. It has arguably the best score out of all 3 of those films. I mean, pick your poison. They're all amazing. It actually has really good pop songs in the soundtrack. I'm not even into that kind of music, but it works so well in the movie. And I'm like, that's when you can tell they're doing something right. I thought the performances were amazing. Rowan Campbell is transformative. Andi Matichak put in her best performance of the entire trilogy. I think she just got better and better as the movies went, which I love seeing from a young performer, especially. And once Corey is wearing the mask and the coveralls, and he's doing his thing, like when he's at the radio station and the scrapyard, like that's Michael to me.
Yeah.
He's Michael. He's
I
the
think
shape.
that was a transformative part of the movie, but I have something else to say before I show you this. He wants to get you on Movie Swap. It's basically you pick a movie he hasn't seen and vice versa, and then you talk about it.
Okay.
So I don't
There's
know
a
if
lot
that
of
means you've never seen Halloween Ends, but I will say this. Out of all the movies, and of course, most of them are pretty straightforward as far as plot and conversation points, but it has the most essence to it as far as a conversation piece because I hated it the first time I saw it. And then someone said, what if you went back and watched it as if you were just reading Laurie's book?
Yeah.
Because there were certain parts where, like you mentioned, a radio station. She got to that radio station way too fast for where she was previously.
Mhm.
And I was like, and she's just standing outside, almost like an observer, almost like a narrator. And I was like,
Yeah.
so I watched it that way, and I was like, okay, I can see where this is coming from. It's not. I feel like marketing sold us a false bill of goods, which marketing can
Yeah.
do. It's
That's
called, bait and switch or
yeah.
clickbait, depending on the format. But
They want
I
to get
think
butts
the
in the
movie
seats.
itself, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But the movie itself is more complex than just, this sucks. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think another thing about Halloween Ends is okay, so it's not you want something else. You want it like so there are like 10 other Halloween movies that are just Michael doing his thing. So we already have those. And I
mhm.
think we need to celebrate and reward and you know, give some deeper thought when creators are taking big swings.
Yeah.
We need to like that needs to have a little bit more cachet because it's what would if we got the same thing for that H2O was just the 2023 version of it, like people would have bitched about that. And so it's like Halloween Ends gave us something wholly unique.
And that's the thing. You bring up a good point. You mentioned about taking a big swing. We're quick to say when a movie just basically is just a recycle or borrows too much from the original. But when
Mhm.
we have these major offshoots, these left of center creations,
Yeah.
it's almost the same complaint.
Yeah.
You
So
can't
like
win.
what the hell do you even want? You're going to complain if it's the same, you're going to complain if it's too different. So go
Mhm.
make your own movie.
Yeah, it's true. It's
Making
true.
movies is tough. I've never done it myself, but I can tell it's really tough business.
Yeah,
I
same.
totally get you, Big Rod. They could have given us it could have been different. I wish that Corey didn't stab himself in the neck and then at the end of the movie he's not laying there anymore
Yeah,
and then we really could have a follow-up where he is the shape, you know?
because basically that just starts it all over. We're back in '78 all over again.
Yeah. But there are
Um,
some really interesting themes. A lot of the people that don't like Halloween Ends have only seen it once, and I think if you
mm,
dig a little deeper and you watch it another couple times, you're gonna see
it
some
took me.
really interesting themes about, there's all the talk about like infection. They bring that up a lot. So there's the infection of Corey's hand from the Yoo-hoo bottle or whatever, and then there's like the infection of how the town has basically turned him into the next boogeyman because they needed something to fear and something to turn into a villain. And I think that's actually like a pretty poignant point about like the way we are as people.
It's true. It's true. All right. You might have seen acres of movies with the questions. I'm just going to pop them up on the screen. You either answer them or say next
Okay.
because I
Okay.
can't.
Grumpy old men. I would use the Winnebago from Spaceballs.
Love it.
I don't know if I've seen enough of those. Yeah. Best movie to get my adrenaline going. Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead.
Nice.
Best movie set in Phoenix metropolitan area. I'm like struggling to think like what movies were set here. There's a lot in Tucson. If you name some acres of movies, I'll maybe it'll spark something.
I am not. I would rather pay my mortgage this month.
That'd be a big ticket. Oh my gosh, rank the 2020. That's really tough
Just
to
give me
do.
top three. Let everybody else watch the videos.
Top three. I'm gonna say The Substance, Long Legs, Late Night with the Devil.
Substance, Late Night, Abigail, because I think they just gave away too much in the trailer, but it was still fun.
It was fun. Favorite John Candy? 3 on-screen moments from John.
Give me
Well,
one.
I love him in Home Alone as as the polka guy, but
That's mine.
he makes me cry and at the end of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. But I think my favorite John Candy movie is Who's Harry Crumb.
Ooh, good one. Uncle Buck for me.
Oh, it's a good one. I don't know. I don't know who Craig Zahler is.
This is a lot easier to do this way.
I haven't seen that one. I haven't seen that either.
Long time ago.
George Clooney and Paul Newman are both 30 and want to do a movie. What do you cast them in? They're both 30 and they want to do a movie. That's a good one. That's really good. What do I pick?
I would cast them in some adaptation of a Leonard Elmore novel, just because Clooney has done it before and Newman has a charm for it too.
Yeah, man, I'm trying to think of one. That's a tough one. Oh, let's put them in Jaws. Let's do Jaws with them. Paul Newman can be Quint. Clooney can be Brody. What do you cast Ghostface Killer in 98? Oh, I mean, like any, like, I know what you did last summer. I still know what you did last summer. Something like that.
Yeah.
It seems like they always were putting rappers in like the one-off, like, or you know what I mean? Like,
like
Deep Blue
Buster
Sea
and
and
Halloween Resurrection.
Yeah.
I always wanted that Def Jam fighting game to be made into a movie. So put Ghostface in there.
Okay.
I have one more question for you before we get to the 5 takes.
Okay.
And this kind of brings it back to the beginning, besides talking about Dylan's New Nightmare. I've seen the logo. We've seen the early videos. Is the Mohawk ever coming back?
I think so.
Yeah.
I recently got a new job and I asked them about that, and they're basically like, hey, as long as the performance is good, like you can do whatever you want. Yeah. And I could always just so what I'm doing, I'm going to be like doing appointment setting at like events and retail. So I could always just wear one of the company's hats, and living in the desert with the heat and everything, if you have the Mohawk, it's so nice just to like wet the side of your head. It's almost like air conditioning for your head, and I don't style the Mohawk. It's just my floppy, curly, hair.
It's just appears. It's just there. It's beautiful.
I let it do its thing, and I think that 2025 is going to be the year of some new beginnings for me. So maybe I'll bring that Mohawk back. I appreciate the question. You're the first person to ask.
Yeah, it's because we were working on the thumbnail, and I remember seeing the logo, and I was like, "This brings me back," because I think it was when you did the Rad Pack video question was the first time I seen like a video of yours, and then it was coming back and seeing live streams is when I really started watching. So yeah, we got Johnny in the house. What's up, man? Good to see you again.
Happening?
Michael says Planes, Trains, Automobiles, favorite of John Candy's comedies, also in JFK. I need to rewatch it. It's been a minute.
Oh, I don't remember him. I saw that like when it came out on VHS. I was a little kid.
I think the Shout Studios one was on sale the other day. I might actually do that. Might pick that up. Should Oz Perkins make a new Psycho movie?
No, I like that he's like kind of doing his own thing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Monkey. I'm looking forward to see what he does with Stephen King.
He's very creative with what he and his cinematographer do. I mean, Longlegs is out of this world.
I'll give that one to you.
Oh, Michael's gonna win every time. He's evil incarnate. So there's no killing that.
Yep. And I think people wanted to see that movie after Freddy versus Jason, but that didn't make enough money for them to
Yeah.
mess with the licensing that it would take to get Paramount to lend him to New Line or vice versa.
Yeah, I kind of like the versus thing in the comics. It's fun. I don't know
Yeah,
if they need to be movies.
yeah. All right, my friend. You ready for the 5 takes?
Yeah, bring it on.
All right, 5 takes. The questions we ask at the end of every conversation. We start as we always do with number one. Number one, name the film that made you fall in love with the movies.
Jaws, 1975. That's the one. My favorite film of all time. It has
You said
everything. It's
you first saw it when you were 5. Tell that story.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it seems like one of those movies that's like ever since I had consciousness, I remember Jaws.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really remember like the first time I saw it. I just know it must have been right around that time because I think The Revenge. I was born in '82, so like The Revenge was coming out like '87, and so that was probably like they were probably putting Jaws on TV or something. And so I
Yeah.
probably just saw it in passing, or maybe my parents were like, "Yeah, this is a classic movie. Like, you should watch it." And I mean, the excitement, the thrills, the suspense. There's some great comedic moments in there. There's, the tension between Brody and, the mayor and everything. Of course, Robert Shaw as Quint, such an amazing performance. He should have won, Best Actor for that.
Yeah.
I think Jaws should have won Best Picture. I think Cuckoo's Nest is a really good movie, but I do think that Jaws is a better film.
Yeah.
And it got me into sharks. I was like that kid that was like at 6 or 7 years old that wanted to rent or go to the library and check out like National Geographic shark VHS and like check out books and like read about so a lot of kids were into dinosaurs. Like that was sharks for me, the dinosaurs of the ocean.
Yeah.
So yeah, it had a profound effect on me, and that probably kicked off everything. And it's probably where I got a little bit of that horror bug as well.
Yeah. I was 5 when it came out, and I could tell you not so much, well, definitely that, but then it was more about the book, Benchley's book, the adaptation, and the start of officially what would become to known as the summer blockbuster. Because
Yeah.
You had Exorcist before that, you had that, then you had Star Wars after, but just the combination of those three was just that kicked off everything. But then when you got to 2 in 78, that's when it was just gangbusters.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And I mean,
crazy.
speaking of 2 acres of movies, says R.I.P. Jeannot Swark, who directed Jaws 2 and just passed away
Yes.
last
Same
week.
day as David Lynch and Bob Uecker.
Yeah, and he also directed what is it called, like Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeve and
Very good movie.
Jane, what's her name? Jane Seymour.
Mm-hmm.
And he directed some really great episodes of like Smallville, and I think that Jaws 2 is a fantastic follow-up. You can never live up to the original, but it gets damn close. The music, John Williams' score is amazing. And it has a look and feel that's very close to a Spielbergian kind of thing. So
Yeah, it complements it
solid
well.
sequel.
I think not last summer, but the summer before it, when the 4K came out on, what was it? Here it is. When the 4K came out on Steelbook.
Mm-hmm. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I have the same Steelbook for the first one as you, but we watched the two of them back to back, and it was like, it's not that is perfection, but it's not a bad movie. It really complements it well. So
yeah, and it's not, even though they're doing kind of rinse and repeat with the shark, it's really nice to have like the teenage characters, and then Brody kind of has a rival with the like his bosses, or his wife's boss is sort of like trying to horn in on that and everything. So yeah, fun stuff.
All right, number 2, name 5 of your favorite films.
5 of my favorite films. Okay, that's easier than doing a top 5. Yeah, I will say Fletch with Chevy Chase is one of my favorite films.
Ooh, good one.
The Evil Dead, the original Evil Dead film. That's one of my favorites.
Okay, You got anytime you mention Evil Dead on here, you have to do the ranking because, to me personally, there's not a bad movie in the franchise.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I do have a ranking video, but I'll give you the quick version. So I would go Rise, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, Evil Dead 2013, and The Evil Dead from 1981. 81?
I could get with that. I could get with that.
I know it's, maybe I'm biased. That first movie is like the most punk rock movie I've ever seen. It
and
is
it's probably the first one you
punk
were
rock.
introduced to.
And I probably saw little bits of Army of Darkness on TV, but it's the first Evil Dead movie I watched entirely. And man, you can make a movie like 5 people can make a movie. Like at some point, it's just like 3 people on the set. And I thought Sam Raimi's, use of the camera was so creative, and it was like listening to The Descendants or Black Flag for the very first time. It just like it blew apart like my perceptions of what was possible. Like, oh, not every movie needs to be a slick like Hollywood production. Wow. And
yeah,
it was at that time in my life where I was falling in love with punk rock like more and more by the day. So yeah, Fletch, Evil Dead. Did I already say another one? Network. Network's one of my favorites.
Ooh, okay.
I really love. I can't get enough of RoboCop. To me, it just gets better and better every year I watch it. Like I fucking love RoboCop. And let's put in like a good old classic. We'll do, I'll go super classic since you like old movies as well. I'll do Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with Frederick March.
Very good. I like that. You had me at Network. When you said Network,
so
I was
good.
like, oh wow.
The screenplay of Network. Guys, if you haven't seen Network, there are scenes where like there are multiple conversations going on. The Patty Chayefsky screenplay, it's one of the most impressive pieces of writing like you'll ever see put to film. I swear. Like Beatrice Straight was in that movie for like 5 minutes and got a Best Supporting Actress nomination.
Yeah.
I think she might have won. Yeah, she might have won. And then William Holden is the first actor to win posthumously. And Ned, what's his face? Ned from Ned Beatty has one scene and got nominated. One scene.
That's all it took in that movie. That's all it took.
There are no countries, Mr. Beale.
Top horror cinema. Yeah. Without it, we don't have Terrifier down the road. It's true. It's nothing like guerrilla filmmaking done well. And that's basically what that first one was. It was pretty much created, it was Sam and just their greatness.
And it created the cabin in the woods kind of thing.
Yeah. Here's everyone's favorite question. Number 3. Name a popular or classic movie that everyone seems to love, but you don't particularly like it.
Ooh, I don't particularly like it. Let me see. Classic movie. I was thinking about this one earlier because it's really tough, and I'll say Psycho. I think Psycho's good. Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah.
I can name like 3 other Hitchcock movies that I think are far better. Like, I think Rope is better. I think Rear Window is better, and Vertigo. Fudge, man. Vertigo is like, that's my favorite Hitchcock right there. That movie really puts you through it.
He's always over my shoulder watching us.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. I think Hitchcock is great. And I do think Psycho is such an important movie. You can't like undersell the importance and what what it and Peeping Tom did. They both came out the same year. What those two did
for putting them together.
Oh yeah, I think Peeping Tom. I prefer Peeping Tom to Psycho, because I've never seen a movie where I felt so much sympathy for the villain than when I watched Peeping Tom, and it truly has some frightening facial expressions from some of the victims. It's wild. So yeah, I'll say Psycho. I'm not trying to trash it, but
no. And as a big Hitch fan, I'm not taking any offense to it, but I just know so much about that movie. It's hard to hate because it's like I used to watch like Alfred Hitchcock Presents, and then to find out his film crew is the same one who did Psycho, and it was like just a well-oiled machine production kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's just certain things like you never even heard a toilet flush before that movie.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the little nuances that you're like, oh my gosh, how could we have this
Yeah.
movie today without recognizing that? But yeah, but
And
definitely Peep
I,
and Tom as well.
I love the marketing that he did, especially for Psycho. I think like that's a lost art of a guy like Hitch that would do like he'll show you the room and be like, in this room, something terrible is about to happen. Like,
Yeah,
and you know, like I would love to see it's sort of, you know, like I'm a big Twilight Zone fan. It kind of reminds me of like what Rod Serling ended up doing with that, where he's
yeah,
just like a place out of time. He like kind of sets the stage for everything, and it's like, man, I would love to see a director. I think a guy like Osgood Perkins could be a guy
yeah,
that could do a trailer like that where he just sort of is like walking you through the set and sort of and being the salesman. I think that's a nice cherry on the icing of a director and a creator, because Hitch never like really wrote his own stuff, but his power and his skill was, how are you going to shoot the movie? How are you going to tell the story? And how are you going to make like build intrigue
yeah.
for the audience?
And the only thing I would say is that today's studios probably wouldn't let someone have that kind of autonomy to just say,
Yeah.
we're going to talk about a movie, but we're not going to show a single frame from it.
Yeah, man. Someone's got small studio. Let's have the guts. A24 or Neon. Somebody like let a director, an auteur do that. I
They
think a
need
guy
to
like
do it for Terrifier 4.
Jordan Peele has the kind of personality where he's the kind
Yes.
of performer where he could do that, because he could do it as like a kind of a character, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, he did the Twilight Zone
I was
thing.
just
So yeah,
about to say that. That's why he was a great host for the remake of the show. All
yeah.
right, let's flip that. Name a critically hated movie that you love.
Critically hit. This is going to be a hot take. It's not horror. I'm going to say Batman v Superman, but I'm going to say specifically the Ultimate Edition of that movie. If you have
Mm,
not seen the Ultimate Edition of Batman v Superman, which is basically the Snyder cut,
yeah,
then you really haven't seen, like, the movie is totally different. Like, I don't know if
it
people
plays different.
understand that. Yeah, they mix up some of the editing as far as when scenes take place. You in the Ultimate Cut edition, you actually understand why Clark wants to stop Batman, because they show Clark as a journalist doing a lot more in that movie, going into a neighborhood that's like where regular people are frightened of the bat, not just the criminals and everything. So
Hmm.
I just felt like it, you know, I know that a lot of people can't get past like a couple moments in that movie, and it almost just seems like everyone has this group think about laughing about like the Martha thing, which to me, like, that never made me laugh. And then, you know, Jesse Eisenberg is like, it's kind of odd. But we've also seen Lex in like every friggin' Superman movie. So I was ready for a little something different from Lex.
Yeah,
Um, and dude, Ben Affleck as Batman is the most comic accurate Batman I've ever seen in my life on screen. The
yeah.
dude's chest
Not
is
Bruce
like a
Wayne, but Batman.
yeah. His chest
Yeah,
is like a mile wide. The dude is like a barrel. And Batman was brutal. Like I think Batman v Superman, bad rap.
you just need time for it and
Yeah.
to find
And
it.
watch
That's the other
yeah,
thing.
watch the Ultimate Cut. It's only like 10 or 12 minutes longer, but it's more about the reshuffling. You know.
Yeah, editing. Let's
Mhm.
catch up on some of these comments before we get to the last question.
Yeah.
Uh, Johnny says he checked out Obayashi's house and had no idea how much it influenced Raimi's Evil Dead. Yeah.
I still need to see that one. I've seen plenty of people talk about it. I've seen the Steve Miner house movie,
Mm-hmm.
but I've never seen Obayashi's house. But yeah, it looks
It's trippy.
very, very surreal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Adele says Vertigo is also his favorite Hitchcock.
Yeah, it's really good. I felt like Shutter Island to me sort of felt like a love letter to Vertigo.
Yeah, I could see Uncle Marty doing that.
Yeah.
Hitchcock is a great example of walking so others could run. It's still walking in the end. Yeah. But
Some of the films, have you seen Rope,
yeah,
KB?
I've seen all of them. I
Yeah, Rope.
have
You got
all of them. Right.
nice.
I don't know if you can see where it says, probably not because I have them further back, but pretty much his short of one, his whole filmography is on this shelf here.
Nice.
So
Yeah, Rope, man. The editing on that to make it look seamless. Really clever stuff.
yeah. Then you look at like a modern day example, like 1917, and you're
Mhm.
like, oh, you could cheat now. Digital
Yeah.
editing allows you to cheat
Yep.
so much more.
Yep.
Um, BBS Ultimate Edition is just bad for a long amount of time.
Fair enough.
There
I
you
enjoy it, but not
go.
everyone has to.
But he gave you a sub, so it's all good.
Appreciate you, Del.
He's a
Yeah,
good
man.
guy.
Hit me up if you want me on the channel. We
I
can
think
put
that'll be
something
fun.
together, man.
I think that'll be fun. I think you guys will have a blast for sure. Ah, man. I'm sure we're gonna get some more comments, but before we do, I wanted to thank you for coming on.
Thank you, man.
It was a good exchange of guests between your channel and then on here.
I love it.
Anytime you want me back on, I'm willing. I don't need more than a couple hours notice. I will drop whatever I got going on to come and help hang out with you and the Dead Squad and everybody else. So
Yeah, we should. You know what I've been getting into, especially bringing people back that have been previously like a guest on late night, is just bringing you back for whenever in the week, maybe a Friday night, and we pick a discussion topic, like something
yeah,
that's sort of your forte. So we could do a little Hitchcock, or if there's something you're just thinking about that you want to talk about, we can figure something out offline and put something together really fun for
that's
sure.
dope. Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
down for that. All right. So as we get ready to land this plane, we go with number 5. Now you've been through it. Who would you like to see me have a conversation with on this channel?
All right. Let's see here. Have you so a couple people are coming to mind.
Okay.
There's so my guy Coy, he's Happy Sanjo is his name on YouTube. He's relatively new. I brought him on late night and we talked about like the first 3 Scream films and we like
Uh-huh.
dove deep into the thematic elements and he like did his homework and everything. So I think he'd be a really cool guest. He's still building up his channel. He's only around maybe like 35-ish subs or whatever, but I think as far as like what he's got to say and the way he can like, bring it would be great. There's Dean Renner from Enter the Cinevault. He was doing something on like a kind of a network channel with some other people for a little bit, and then he stopped making content, and then he's back solo. So that would be fun.
Mhm.
And then I don't know if you follow the Twisted Locker guys, Curtis and Jenks. They're out in Wales. Those
Ooh,
guys,
great.
they're 2 cousins that live in Wales and they're
Uh-huh.
huge horror fans. And so one of them is like a writer and he's a little more picky, maybe, I guess you could say a little more snobby. And then the other one is sort of like loves all the trashy horror and all that stuff. So they're a really fun, like, I love their dynamicism
And the
between
name
them.
again is
Twisted Locker.
Locker.
Their videos are a lot of fun. And I call them my Welsh brothers from other mothers because I just feel like I found their channel relatively early on and it just like we clicked right away,
I love it. I love it. I'm going to take one more look at the chat here. Jeff says, Davey is always a fun time on the stream. Very true. Very true.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Paula
You
was
guys make
asking
it
about
fun.
your favorite John Candy film. We have a lot of John Candy love in
Yeah,
here.
we got that John. I think as far as what did I say earlier? Who's Harry Crumb?
Yeah.
Yeah, because to me, Who's Harry Crumb is fun. It's sort of like Fletch, but with John Candy's like sensibilities instead of Chevy Chase. I like that.
Mhm.
I like that feel. And then it has. Why am I forgetting her name right now? But she's in the Saw movies. The woman from Saw, Shawnee Smith, is in Who's Harry Crumb, and she's so adorable in that movie. Oh my gosh, super cute. Annie
Ooh,
Potts is in there, and she's
I
pretty
love Annie
smoking.
Potts.
Yeah.
We got some controversy here. What is this? Why won't you watch Sleepaway Camp? And how much of a bribe is it going to take for you to get it to watch it this summer?
It's true. I've never seen it, but it's like I feel like I have because it's like it's one of those movies where if you're part of the horror community, like
They gave it away.
about the big reveal, but then about all of the kind of like there's like the pervy cook and like there's
Yeah.
all these elements of the movie that I know about, but it's true. I've never seen it. And Big Rod, it's not going to take a bribe. Maybe I'll do a little super chat
There you
goal
go.
kind of
Like a
thing,
little telethon.
and see if you know, I know that you want me to watch it, but let's see if the rest of the Death Squad wants to see me watch Sleepaway Camp, and I'll
I have a
tuck
good
it the
idea.
whole time during the movie.
Hold a telethon, super chat to build it up. Once you get to that amount, it becomes a watch along.
Yeah,
I think it's
that's
on
what.
Prime Videos or something like that if
There we
people can't
go.
find it.
Yeah,
So that's a good idea.
yeah. I'll do that. I'll do a little watch along. We can do that this summer, Big Rod, because we know we're not getting any Friday the 13th this summer. So.
Mm-hmm. What else? What else? What else? Shout outs. Love Twisted Locker.
Love those guys.
Great stream. Thank you, brother. Good to see you as
Oh, yeah.
always. Another sub to you. Huckster's in the house. What is up, Huck?
What's
Glad you
happening,
popped
Huck?
in.
Thank you so much.
I'll catch you tomorrow morning on your morning cafe show at 10. So
Hell yeah. I'll have to check you out, man. Yeah. Thank you for subbing.
Campfire Tales is on Tubi. I don't know what that is.
Sounds familiar. I'll have to look it
Funny
up.
enough, okay, this has been coming up recently. This very funny movie called Noises Off. I want more people to watch this and tell me what they think. I think it's only available on DVD. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere, but it's a funny movie, and I'm surprised when I hear people talking about it. So definitely check out Noises Off and tell me what you think. I think that's it for now. Oh, he says challenge accepted.
Deal.
There you go. I want to thank you again for coming on, my man. It's very warm now. My electric blanket is on hot, and this is keeping me nice and warm. The extremities. I got on dual socks, so I'm actually going to go upstairs and get a refill on something else that will keep me warm. So,
hell yeah.
Just want to thank everyone for checking it out. If you haven't done so already, please feel free to like and subscribe and leave comments and all that good stuff. You know what to do if you feel like doing it. I'm more concerned about you coming back and checking out another conversation, checking out a video, doing your likes and comments there. But we're going to have another conversation next Monday. So we're going to have Harrison from Really Old Movies. So definitely stop by and check him out next Monday. Until then, check out Davey's channel. What do you have going on late night this week?
On late night this week, I've got the guys from Twisted Locker. And it's actually going to be... So because they're so, out there, they're about 7 hours ahead of where I am in Phoenix. What I've started doing, and also I switched jobs, so my schedule sort of changed. So we're still going to have a late night with the Davey episodes that take place late night, but I'm also starting a new little version of it called Late Night with the Davey Before Dark. And that's going to be 1 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have the guys. So 1 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. GMT. And so we're going to have those Twisted Locker guys on, and we're going to talk about what are the things that make iconic horror characters iconic? What are the things that keep them in our minds, forever? So really looking forward to that. And then this Friday, I've got my original Death Squad mod, Jamie Hart. She used to make content and she's taking a break. She's coming back. We are going to be talking Evil Dead Deep Dive Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern. So I'm really, really pumped for that one. I can't wait.
Shout out to Jamie. Good lady. Good lady. All right. We're on the checkout. I promised him 75 minutes on the dot. There you go. Everyone have a good night. As I always say, go watch a movie. Take care, everyone.
Take care, y'all.